Doing well. Welcome to Cooped Up Live, should I say. Just a daily-ish broadcast where I talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. While we are waiting on folks, my mama, everybody else to join, I'm coopedup.com is my website. You can visit that anytime to learn a little bit more about what's going on with me. I'm Cooped Up is my handle in all the social places. Would love a follow wherever you are. And wherever you watch or listen to this, it is broadcast on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, as well as rebroadcast in audio format on most of the major podcasting platforms. Click the bell, subscribe button, whatever it is, so that you do not miss a second of the fun. Sorry, my phone rang. Hey, Mama, how are you? So, Mom, I realized today that we are celebrating an anniversary today. 9 years ago, well, you have a sad anniversary, but it's also a good anniversary for us. 9 years ago, you buried your husband, and 9 years ago, we started talking again. And actually, I think we saw each other in person for the first time in like over 5 or 6 years, I think. So I consider that personally, it's a happy day for me. I know that for you, it's possibly a bittersweet day. Let me get that off the screen. Sorry about that. It's also Mason's Gotcha Day today. And what that means, it is today, 14 years ago today, we actually flew out to California to pick up Mason and saw him for the first time, fell in love instantly, and brought him home. And what a day that was. We did all of that in one day. Todd and I, so Nina came over, Todd's sister, watched Claire, and Todd and I, and P.S., Claire is 3 months old, 3 months and a few days old at this point. Todd and I got on like a 5 a.m. flight to Los Angeles, flew out, actually Orange County Airport, flew out there, landed, drove directly to the adoption agency. I think maybe we stopped at a Starbucks along the way, drove directly to the adoption agency, signed a shit ton of paperwork. They brought him out. We got in the car. We drove immediately to LAX, returned the car. I think we may have stopped at an In-N-Out Burger on the way that way too, and jumped on a plane back to Dallas, and we were home. I think that we were home by like 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. rather. It was a crazy day of just literally going out, grabbing. It's like being a courier, but it was quite fun. Hey, Eric, how are you? So, and Mom is saying it's a happy day for her too. Good. I'm glad. So lots of things to celebrate today. What is so weird today, totally changing subjects, totally weird today is in the last few days, the weather here in North Texas has been so crazy the last couple of days. The amount of hail we have gotten in North Texas, like it has hailed at our house like 4 times in the last like 48 hours. And I think that this climate change is, I don't know if Mother Nature's pissed off at us or what is going on, but it just seems like everything is just a little bit more extreme than it's ever been. And our weather here was already pretty extreme. I think we're going to hit 108 in the next week or so here in Dallas already. Like that just is bonkers to me. But this earlier today, so the dogs were being groomed. I'll get more to that in a moment. But and we do a mobile groomer. They come in a van and they just like park on the street or in the driveway and do it in the van. I'm in the house and it starts storming, and it was storming this morning when I took the kids to school, and then it stopped. They had field day today. It was soggy field day. They were allowed to be out in like the playthings, and there was like water slides and all that kind of stuff. It was already we do a wet field day at school, and so they were already wet. So it actually adds to the fun when it's not super hot and it's already raining a little bit. It's just when it's actually storming, they can't be out there. And but so at about, what time was it? Like about 1:45, 1:30, something like that. The storm started rolling, and you start hearing thunder in the background. Thunder. And all of a sudden I'm like, it's raining kind of hard. And by the way, my car is parked in the driveway at this point. I almost always park my car in the driveway. I hate parking in our garage because we have an old school house with old school garages. This house was built in the 1930s. Garages are this narrow. My car has with the mirrors pulled in, I have about an inch of wiggle room on either side. I'm not that good of a driver. So I'm like, nope, I don't want to pull in the garage if I don't have to. And So I usually park in the driveway overnight, all the time. It's in the driveway. But it started. I was like, it's is that hail? Do I hear hail? And I look out, and it is not small hail. Like I thought the other day we got it, and it was kind of like a like big sleet, like it wasn't a big deal. We're not getting like these softball sized ones, and I'll get into that momentarily also. But these coming down were big enough where I was like, okay, that might hurt something. So I went, opened the garage door, ran through the hail, just hoping I wasn't going to get pelted by a big one. I got a couple of little ones, but nothing. It wasn't like getting hit by a golf ball or anything. And then jumped in my car and then put it in the garage. And of course, I had to make a 73-point turn because once I'm already in the driveway, it's almost impossible to get lined up perfectly straight so that I don't scrape the sides of my car. So I did a little Austin Powers action there and got it in. I literally pulled it in enough that it was under the cover because our garage has like a little mini roof off the front of it too. I didn't even want to shut the doors. I don't know how far I need to pull in. Todd is a master at this. So we're ridiculous. Between the two of us, we have 5 cars. Todd has 3 cars. He parks 3 of them in we have 4 garages, 3 of them, and then his tractor is in the 4th one, his lawn tractor. And we pulled that out, and it was actually pulled out already, but Todd went into work today. And so I just pulled it in far enough where it was not going to get pelted by hail anymore. And then when the threat passed, I backed it right back out. But I was like, okay, I was worried that I was going to get like hit. And then I was like looking at the hail and I'm like, what size is that? What size is that hail? And it was making me think this morning. I had randomly, I don't really watch the news very much. I'll read the news. I'll read Dallas Morning News, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. I have subscriptions to all 3 of those. But I don't really watch the like local news, the ABC news. I'll turn it on. Like if there's a weather event, I'll go to WFA's website and just watch the live broadcast. And that's what I was doing this morning. And the descriptions of the sizes of the hail, it was cracking me up. There's obviously no standardized, like it's not just like golf ball size hail. That's a common one you hear. Those softball size hail, that's a common one, baseball size. This morning, they described the hail as the size of a cup of yogurt. I kid you not. I'm like, size of that is such a random, first of all, random. Secondly, like, is it a Yoplait? Is it the Big Dannon that has the granola stuck on top of it? Like, what size of a cup of yogurt? And who is immediately thinking? I mean, I think of some really funky ass metaphors, similes, whatever you want to call them, on the regular. But like, I was like, cup of yogurt. Why was that top of mind? Maybe because it was breakfast time. I don't know. It was so weird. But anyway, all's well. No damage to my car. No damage to the house. No damage to any children or anything like that. By the way, I thought it was going to be a nicer day today. I'm looking like Jimmy Buffett today. This is a gorgeous linen shirt that I bought in Mexico when we were just there last month. So I thought it was a nicer day. But it was obviously, I was very overcast and just kind of rainy and kind of cold. I was cold everywhere. I went into my office and then I was here. I went to Walgreens and I had to go to Tom Thumb, the grocery store. I was cold in all of those places because we're in the season now here in Texas where you have to we had to put another blanket on our bed for nighttime because we're in that season now where when the sun is not beating down on you and you're not dying of heat, you just try to blast the air as hard as you can so that hopefully it's sort of like going downhill on a bike and then you got to go back uphill. You try to just haul ass as fast as you can down the hill so that the momentum will get you up the next hill. That's a perfect analogy, actually, if you are simile or whatever. But that's how we do with like the HVAC. That's how I drive the RV, by the way. It's terrifying to some people. When we were driving, we were going to Santa Fe in the RV and, it starts to get real hilly. So on the downward hills, I'm not going to lie, on the interstate, I was hitting about 85 miles an hour because this was on our first RV. I've never driven our second RV, but our first one, I was actually the primary driver of on our first big trip because Todd had to work. The pandemic had just started, all that kind of stuff. I was like hauling ass down these hills so that the whole thing wouldn't just be screaming, because the first one did not like Colorado, it did not like New Mexico. It was a gas, not a diesel, so the engine was a little undersized. By the way, totally sidebar. When I went to Tom Thumb today, I thought it was a typo, but is gas and diesel the same price right now? Like literally both of them were $3.16, I believe is the price. I'm not going to lie. I literally have no idea how much gas costs. I don't know how much a gallon of milk costs. I don't know how much a loaf of bread costs. Like and I'm not saying that braggadociously. I am just so spoiled, comfortable, oblivious that I literally don't know what things cost, like those types of things. I could tell you what a pair of Ferragamo shoes cost. I could tell you what I couldn't probably. I'm terrible. I have an inability to remember numbers if they are preceded by a dollar sign, and I think that is learned incompetence. I think that is just my way of being able to put it. I don't remember how much it was, Todd. I know it was 60% off. I can't remember if it was 60% off $1,000 or 60% off $100. But it's not how much you spend, it's how much you save, right? Yeah, that's my saying. But anyway, so what are you saying? I gave Choo Choo a bath to help him cool off. Mom? Oh, Choo Choo's my dog. The need that you, oh my God, am I blushing right now? I think I'm blushing, and that never happens. The fact that you and I had the same thought, I'm assuming you had the same thought as me about what you were calling Choo Choo, and then the need to clarify that Choo Choo is your dog because it was hot. Like, yeah. Oh my. Jeez. Okay. I'm a little not overwhelmed, that's the wrong word, a little like flustered at the moment about that. Yes, talking about my mama's Choo Choo. Speaking of dogs, let's just go ahead and segue to the next thing. So I have gone back to our old dog groomer. So we used to use this dog groomer. So we only do the mobile dog grooming, and there's a couple of reasons why. Mobile dog grooming is where they bring like a big ass van. It's like a panel van, and it's all equipped it has like a sink and shears and electricity and all that kind of stuff. Water is on board, all that kind of stuff. So they just do your dogs there, right? I do it for two reasons. I do it because one, every time my dogs have gone to a traditional grooming place, they have gotten sick. They've gotten either one time they got like an infection, one time they got just like kennel cough, one time. And I'm like, suddenly this turns into this big ordeal. It's like this $200 grooming visit ends up being a $600 affair. No, I don't want to do that. Also, I don't like the idea of like them taking the dogs back and then I just don't know what's going on, right? Especially if they have them all day, because that's most of the groomers here. You drop them off and you leave them there for most of the day and then you just come back. The other reason, and this is me being a neglectful owner, I could not tell you the last time a dog's had a rabies shot. I don't know. They've not been to the vet in forever either, because my thing is they're locked in the house all day. Unless we're going randomly for a walk or they're in the backyard, they're not like roaming with a bunch of other dogs. They don't need kennel cough stuff. They're not going to get kennel cough unless they go to the boarding place. And all of these groomers require like vaccination records and such, and I don't have those. I don't know where they are, and so so that's the other reason why I use the mobile groomer. Well, we used to use this one called Puppy Cuts DFW. It's got a little overwhelmed for a while, and so I switched to one called Pet Love, and Pet Love is a national chain. Puppy Cuts DFW is like some local guys that do it, and Pet Love is great. My only issue with Pet Love is that you can't text them to make appointments. There's no online portal to make appointments. You have to call them during the business day. And then it's always one of those things where, oh, we're booked up for 3 to 4 weeks. Can you do it on this Thursday? No. Can you do it at this time? No. Can you do it at this time? That sort of thing. And so I just on Sunday, I realized our dogs are hot. Like they hadn't had a haircut in a while. And that we have 2 poodle mixes. And the problem with poodle mixes is they don't shed at all, which is great. until they have a bunch of hair, and then they're walking around with like this carpet on their back, and it's 108 degrees outside. It's like, need to get them groomed, need it to happen now. So I texted DFW Puppy Cuts, or Puppy Cuts DFW, and I think it's Cuts with a Z, about it. And they're like, sure, we can get you in at 10:30 on Tuesday. They should end up showing up at noon, but that's neither here nor there. I had stuff to do anyway. And did it. But my favorite thing that I forgot how much I appreciate it is they Facebook Live broadcast all of their groomings. So they have multiple vans. They have like 6 different vans here in the DFW airport or DFW area. And they put it on Facebook Live, and they'll say Benny and Pippa getting groomed or whatever. Like they don't put a ton of information. They put the dogs' names or whatever. And they've got a camera that is just broadcasting it live, and then they turn it. They're in the wash station. They turn it and all that stuff. And I love it. And I love it for this reason. It's not because I'm a weirdo that's wanting to watch my dogs getting groomed. It's not that I think that it is like captivating must-see television. I don't believe I'm a pet parent. I believe that I own dogs. They're certainly not my fur babies. But the one thing I liked about it is I could check in occasionally to see how far along they were. So, because previously you would just go, and between 2 and 3 hours later, they were done, right? Because it was 2 dogs. So between 2 and 3 hours later, they were done, but you didn't know if it was going to be 2 hours or if it was going to be 3 hours, if the person was slow as molasses or the person was making a lot of progress. So I was able to, like, a couple of times just checking, because I needed to leave the house at around 2:15 to go run an errand before I picked up the kids from school. So I was just able to check in, and I could see, oh, he's blow drying them now. So that means they must be not too far out. Oh, he's doing this, that kind of thing. And then I did leave it on for a while as well, just to kind of glance at it. It's kind of fun to watch. Hey, Carrie, how are you? Hope you're doing well. We were just talking about my mama's choo-choo. You missed it. But she didn't even get that joke until afterwards. What else? All I have left is we are anxiously awaiting the arrival of Ancestry DNA results. Mom, I'm assuming you sent yours in and that you're in the same boat. I ended up doing it also, so you and I will show up on each other's, hopefully. I'm pretty sure we will. We'll show up on each other's pretty soon. But Claire is particular. She's been asking me the last couple of days. So it's probably been 5 weeks since we sent it in. And now they're to the point where they received it, they extracted it, and now they're analyzing it. And then the results will be presented in the coming days. And we were on the way back from roller derby practice last night, and Claire was talking to me about it a little bit. I love the car rides, by the way, when it's just like one-on-one. And that's when the kids really start talking to you. Like they're not... And I try to get them to minimize their cell phone use if it's a short trip. But I guess there's less pressure. It's just things popping in their mind. So she started, she was like, so what do you think is going to show up on mine? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you think? That's the general answer when you don't want to actually give an answer, especially if you actually know the answer. And she's like, do you think that anyone in my family, my birth family, has taken this? And I was like, there's a likelihood that you will see some relatives on there. I don't know if it's going to be your birth mother. I don't know if it's going to be your cousin. It could be a half sibling. Like, we don't know what's going to show up. Well, what are we going to do when we find out? I was like, well, I think that's one of those things where we may not have a plan right now. We may just need to see what happens and then decide how to move forward. And then I was like, your mom asked for photos of you. We are required by our adoption decree to send in photos every year of each of the kids. And Claire's mother has actually recently reminded us that we forgot to do it last year through the agency. We have no direct contact with her, but through the agency. So we know that she's still kind of aware and all that stuff. And Claire was not aware of that until I told her last night. And she's like, really? And I was like, and she's like, well, why didn't you tell me this before? And I was like, it's one of those things where like we've never hidden anything from you. It's just not knowing like the right time for like, okay, at 10, are you going to be able to handle that there's potential rejection? I was like, because most people don't give up babies because they're in a good place in their life. They don't give up babies because they have all the money and they're in a happy marriage and they've made all the right choices and all that stuff. Sometimes they're in a fine place, it's just not for them, but that's not always the case. It's like, so we don't actually know. And so it's possible that there could be shame involved, or there could be embarrassment, or there could be regret or whatever. It's like, most likely not. Most likely it'll be, okay, I'm glad to see how this came together. Maybe we can be in touch, maybe all that kind of stuff. That's, I think, how most of them go. Most of the people I know who have found their birth parents have established some sort of relationship with them. But I've known some that have said, nope, it's okay. I'm good. I'm glad to know you're alive. That's it, right? And so I was like, so we need to just be ready for that sort of thing too. And so anyway, so I'm kind of, my butthole's a little bit clenched at the moment about what's going to come back. Not for mine, but for Claire's. Mason's came back though. We did his like a year ago because he specifically asked for this test about a year ago. And I think there's some like second cousins and stuff, but it's not close enough because second cousin is remarkably hard to pinpoint how you're related to somebody because they don't know. I think first cousins, they can tell you if it is on your mom's side or your dad's side, but I think like second cousin, at least at the time when I looked, I haven't looked recently, it was far enough out where they were like, you share this amount of DNA, which means you would be second cousin or whatever, but they can't say it's through your mom's lineage or your dad's lineage, right? They can't determine that part of it. Just that it's split, and then went back down the line. So you put yours in the mail on May 17th. Have you checked in yet to see, or maybe getting texts? Are you getting the texts or anything, Mom, about like the progress and all of that? So I've been getting them in mine. I got a text this morning that mine is actually being analyzed now. So it just started being analyzed. Claire's a few days ahead of me, even though we mailed it. We were laughing in the car actually last night so we mailed ours, I think, on the 16th, and you mailed yours on the 17th. I know it was within a day or two of each other. And Claire and I started joking in the car about the amount of our family spit that was being transported via USPS at that moment. Like there was 3 vials of our family's saliva in the mail going to this one location. Like what a weird thing. And also what a weird thing that collection place, knowing that every package you open is just someone's spit. I mean, it's better than that Cologuard or whatever, which I've talked about before, but at least it's not like poop samples, but still. Yes, as Carrie said, there's a lot of other bodily fluids transported via mail these days. I know. I was actually at the post office. This is weird. This is where I think that corporate branding goes awry a little bit. So I was at the post office in line, and the guy in front of me was mailing in and I would have assumed that it would be like postage paid or whatever also, so at least you don't have to go there. But he was in line with a box that was being returned to Cologuard. It had the Cologuard thing, it had the name on it, all that kind of stuff. So I knew for certain that box had that man's shit in it, right? And I don't mean shit in a figurative way. I mean literally his feces were in that cube of cardboard that he was holding and about to hand to them. And the poor mail carrier, I'm sure, was like, thanks. That's where I'm like, maybe a little bit more of a discreet box to send it back in. Yes, imagine working at shipping and receiving at Cologuard. And heaven forbid one of the packages gets torn up. I mean, how many times have you gotten a package? I mean, we got an Amazon package the other day, Mason's summer reading book for his new high school, which, by the way, the cover of it has just a big martini glass on it. That made me laugh. I can't remember the book. The Big Sleep, maybe. I think it's a famous like mystery detective book. But anyway, so we got this envelope that had the book in it. It was one of these padded envelopes, and it had been torn, and the cover of the book was torn off also. I'm like, can you imagine if that was a shit sample? I don't know about that. So Michael Scott is reporting in the 40s, when my uncle was born, the hospital gave him to the wrong mother for a short time. They finally got it straightened out. What about this? What if ancestry makes a mistake? There is a lot of that. there's a lot of family secrets that are being revealed. There's a lot of, I think, so I have a neighbor around the street who is one of these. So there was a bunch of doctors, like fertility doctors, back in like the 50s, I think it was. I think he was born in the 50s, maybe late 40s, probably 50s though. That, or maybe even early 60s. I don't think he's as old as my parents, but he's older than me. That his parents were having trouble conceiving, so they went to this fertility doctor. The fertility doctor did bibbidi bobbidi. She got pregnant, and it turns out that he did this test, and it turns out that the sperm that was used was not his dad's sperm, it was the doctor's sperm. And there were these fertility doctors that were doing this. They were just using their own jizz to get a bunch of women pregnant, and it was working. And I guess the women got what they needed, and the dads thought they were getting their child. But yeah, it is. Yes, that's who's reporting. Eric said the doctor. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They use their own semen. Like, it is crazy to me. And so he found out. He found out about it through this. Like, even his mother, his father had passed away, but even his mother did not know that this had happened. And there's a whole thing. I think there's a class action lawsuit. Although I don't know who you would sue because the doctor's probably dead. But yeah, just curious thing. Just watched a doc about one of the first fertilization doctors, and now he had 100 kids out there. I'm wondering if my neighbor, was he based in, I think it's like Ohio or Illinois or Iowa. It's like one of those Val states. I think that's where it was. So this is actually, y'all know more about this than I thought. Law and Order had an episode about it. So, and it would be different if it were out in the open. That's the thing. It would be different out in the open. But like if you were hiding a pregnancy, or if you were stepping out, right? That sort of thing. Like, I am pretty certain that mine is not going to have any surprises. It's a lot harder for women to have surprise pregnancies, right? And no one know about it. No one find out about it. And also, it's pretty easy to know. I mean, unless they mix you up at the hospital, but like, it's a little bit more difficult to trace if the dad is really the dad, right? And my dad was such a, like, I can't imagine. My dad was cheated on by some of his wives. I cannot imagine my dad cheating. Like, I just cannot. And I know that's the easiest thing to say and all that, but my dad was nice to a fault. My dad was so nice. He was sometimes really boring because he was so fucking nice. Like, that is, and I'm not saying that to be disparaging or anything. God rest his soul. But I just can't imagine. Like, he was just like so in love with every woman he's ever been with. Like, that's the kind of thing. So, anyway, largely because they didn't want to tell the husbands it was their problem, so the doc knocked them up on his own. Really? So there was a whole like toxic masculinity thing in there, like all that kind of stuff. Interesting. So Monica's talking about so back to the Cologuard. I think you have to spoon your poop into a container, then mix it with some kind of fluid. So basically, you play with your poop before mailing it in. Oh, so it's like making a one of those little pies that you put in the easy bake oven. You just got to mix it together, put it in a little thing, and then send it in. Yeah, that's hilarious. So yeah, I just can't imagine. Anyway, I still actually need to go get a colonoscopy. I just got that MRI, which the MRI does look for masses and all that. It can like detect like 500 kinds of cancer. So I'm less concerned with it. It could detect that I have bursitis in my shoulder. So I'm like pretty okay. Still need to go get one. They lowered the age. In my defense, when I was 45, the age was 50. And now that I'm 48, they lowered the age to 45. And so like I was late before I was even arriving. So I know, Carrie, go get your colonoscopy. I was late before I was arriving, and I have no history of it in my family at all. Actually, I don't think anyone in my family gets cancer. I know my grandmother died of cancer, but hers was skin cancer, which is something that like you have to work to get. Like, it wasn't, she was in Galveston, fair skinned. Also, she used that red dye number, whatever, on her hair, all that kind of stuff, right? And so Yeah. Anyway, Leslie's saying her colonoscopy was the best nap ever. So, and David is saying, do it now. The prep is worth. I should live broadcast that. I kid. I'm not going to do that. I know I need to do it. It's on my list. It's on my list. I promise. And it's not going to be on my list so long. I just literally, it just kind of, the pandemic started. It took me by surprise that it was my time. I was not going to do it during the pandemic. And technically, I'm still within the old rules of. I know I'm trying to convince myself. Never mind. So, show is your list. I know, Monica. Shut up. All righty. Well, that's all I got for today. Make sure I didn't miss anything. So we've talked about a lot. We've talked about DNA. We've talked about hail. We've talked about playing with your poop. Talked about dog grooming. Yeah, this was kind of a wide range. My mom's choo-choo. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about today. So, all righty. Well, with that, I'm going to say bye. I love you. It's important that you were loved. I love that you watched this. Thank you so much. Carrie does miss y'all, by the way. She just her fucking job keeps getting in the way, and she can't come live very much. So when she can, it doesn't have to be a Wednesday, Carrie, by the way, if you're still watching. It can be any day. Just let a bitch know, and if I'm coming live, I'll let you on the show. But take care of yourself until I see you next time. Don't should yourself to death. No good comes from should. And I will see you most likely for tomorrow. Oh, Carrie's saying I can definitely do this week. Good. I'll see you tomorrow for an episode of Cooped Up Live. Should I say? Talk to you later. Bye.